warships lie at anchor. No need to look for them. Just trust me. They're there.
Hopefully we get things resolved here tonight, but only time's gonna tell.
Freedom, the ultimate struggle of humanity.
Constable, unhand me!
No, you must come with me!
Here, courageous people stood up.
Playing dice, our cards, and our dog! Oh!
From the cradle of liberty
Here, here!
to lobster rolls, chowder, and cannolis, we'll show you how to have a good time in Boston. This is the third video in our Fall Colors series. Last week we showed Vermont, and before that Blue Ridge, Georgia. Next will be Rhode Island and New Hampshire. Now we take you to Boston. Today, its historical significance, the amount of green spaces, sports, and culture make Boston one of the most attractive destinations on the East Coast. With the help of one of our sponsors, Boston City Pass, we'll take you to the top of the Prudential Center for an amazing view. And on the Boston Harbor City Cruise, touring the skyline in the harbor from the water and out around Castle Island. Take you inside the New England Aquarium, travel around Boylston Street, and enjoy a game at Fenway Park.
Can you believe it?
On Beacon Hill, stop by a bar where everybody knows your name. On the West End, we'll travel down the beautiful Charles River Esplanade, all the way to Harvard University. After exploring the first public park in the U.S., the Boston Common, we'll walk the Freedom Trail on the brick-laid and cobblestone streets of the 1700s. Through the North End, where you can taste Boston's best foods, and across the bridge to Charlestown. Watch the street performers at Faneuil Hall. Go inside of Quincy Market and travel to Quincy, where John Adams lived. We'll go back in time to 1773 at the Boston Tea Party Ship and Museum. Give info on all the other boat tours, water taxis, duck boats, and ferries that go to some of the popular areas around Boston, like Salem, known for its witch trials of 1692.
Follow me, good people, for the afternoon report for Salem town.
We'll show you all your other options for bus and trolley tours, including the ghost and gravestone tours. And take you to Foxborough, where there's still patriots battling today. Explore North Point Park. Take you inside the Museum of Science. We'll help you navigate the city so that you don't lose your head while dealing with the traffic. We'll give detailed info on using the subway. It's time to explore Boston. Boston was founded on the Willamette Peninsula in 1630 at the confluence of the Mystic and Charles Rivers by Puritan settlers. At the time, it was almost completely surrounded by water, but land was filled in on the surrounding waterway. So, the Boston you see today, 1/6 of it is built on man-made land. Areas like the West End, Back Bay, in fact Fenway Park and Logan Airport are almost totally on man-made land. Boston is relatively small. At 48 square miles, it is considered the second smallest major city in the U.S., only behind San Francisco. Under 700,000 people live in Boston, but when you calculate the whole metro area, that includes Cambridge, Quincy, Salem, and over 40 other cities, its population is almost 5 million, the third most populated metro in the Northeast, only behind New York and Philadelphia. And then you factor in over 40 million people visit Boston each year. It means parking is very expensive and driving is an adventure. To ease traffic congestion, Boston built 3 tunnels, a mega project known as the Big Dig, between 1991 and 2007. It rerouted I-90 and I-93 and constructed the Zachem Bunker Hill Bridge over the Charles River, and created the Rose Kennedy Greenway, a linear urban park with landscape gardens, fountains, and promenades. I'd have to rank Boston about 4th or 5th most challenging metros in the U.S. to drive in. It is not only the amount of traffic, but the way the roads split off, with two-way and three-way forks, roundabouts, lack of good signage, the condition of the roads, narrow lanes, and poor lighting at night. And then you add in the mixture of tourists having to navigate the roads with fast local drivers on your bumper. Can be a little intimidating. The good news, though, is Boston has a great public transportation system. Technically, it's called MBTA, but it's better known as the T. It was ranked by Metro Magazine #1 in the U.S. Between the rail, subway, buses, and ferries, it allows riders to get nearly anywhere in the area within 30 minutes, and it has one of the lowest crime rates of mass transit systems in the U.S. The passes are called Charlie cards. It is $11 for a one-day or $22.50 for a 7-day pass, and there's multiple locations where the subway connects with the commuter rail.
So this moves so much faster than I-93.
Many people would choose to stay in Hingham, Massachusetts, and use the ferry to get to downtown Boston. This gives you a scenic water tour of the harbor. You can also use this ferry or the Boston Water Taxi for a fun way to get from Logan Airport to Boston or Charlestown. And the taxi also goes to Rose, Atlantic, Battery, Sargent's, and Liberty Wharf. So, because of all that, it is good to find lodging close to a subway, a ferry, or railway station. I stayed at a couple of hotels south of downtown while filming. First was this pet-friendly Ramada Inn, 5 miles from downtown. It was a good room, good breakfast, but about 3 miles from the nearest subway station. Then a little further south, in Quincy, about 8 miles south of downtown, was this pet-friendly Howard Johnson's that I really liked. It was a spacious, modern room, had a very good breakfast with eggs, sausage, bacon, waffles, bagels. And the best part was, it was a half a mile from the Boylston subway station, which has a large parking lot with a modest $6 a day on weekends, $3 on weekdays to park.
Echoes, whispers under stones.
Our first attraction, a definite must-do, is View Boston. You take the Green Line to the Prudential station, and it's a 2-minute walk to the Prudential Center, where you take an elevator to the top. There's an indoor observation deck with floor-to-ceiling windows, and an outdoor observation deck, and there's also interactive and immersive exhibits, and the Beacon Bistro and the Stratus Rooftop Bar. It is good to do the View Boston first because you can get a real good perspective of how the city is laid out. To the northeast is the Boston Common, Old South Church, Boylston Street, and the downtown skyline. Directly north, the Longfellow Bridge, the Hatch Memorial Shell, the Charles River Esplanade, which we'll take you on in a bit, and that greenway is the Commonwealth Avenue Mall. To the west, I-90, the Kenmore Fenway neighborhood, and Fenway Park. To the southeast, I-93 in Dorchester Bay. And due east, I-90, Logan Airport, and Boston Harbor, which we are headed to next. You can purchase a ticket by itself or do the Boston City Pass, where you get admission to 4 different attractions at a rate close to half of what you would pay if you book individually. It is $74 for adults, $62 for children 3 to 11. Plus, the app gives you really good info. You get 9 consecutive days to book those 4 attractions. At the bottom of the Prudential Center is Italy. This is an upscale Italian food hall with counter-served eateries and restaurants, as well as a grocery store. There's everything from focaccia to pizza to fancy Italian desserts. Certainly, one of the things you must do in Boston is to take a boat tour of the harbor. We are headed to the Long Wharf for the Boston Harbor City Cruise. You get to it on the Blue Line, stopping at the Aquarium station. And it's an easy walk across the street to Long Wharf. But first, let's show you the New England Aquarium. This is also one of the attractions on the Boston City Pass. If you book it by itself, it's $39 for adults, $30 for children 3 to 11. So you see, just another $35, and you get 3 other attractions with the City Pass. It is a timed entry admission. You can easily make a reservation through the City Pass app. Here you can see California sea lions, lots of penguins, harbor seals, sharks, rays, majestic sea turtles, and more. We head across the street to the Long Wharf, where you board the Boston Harbor City Cruise, which is also part of the City Pass. They have a variety of cruises. We are taking the Historic Harbor Cruise, but they also have the Wildlife Tour, a Lighthouse and Tales of Boston tour, and a whale watching tour that is 3 to 4 hours. And there's also dinner cruises. Now, if you book individually, the Historic Harbor Cruise is $40 for adults, $36 for children 3 to 11. Also on the Long Wharf is the Chart House, a high-end seafood and steakhouse. At the end of Long Wharf, a nice promenade with benches to watch all the boats in the harbor. There's the Boston Harbor Walk that follows the edge of the piers along the beaches and shoreline around Boston Harbor. When completed, it will be 43 miles long from East Boston to the Neponset River. We pass by Rose Wharf. Here you have a couple other boat tours too. The Music City Queen Riverboat by Massachusetts Bay Lines. And there's also classic harbor lines with the Northern Lights cruise. And the Adirondack 3 and 4 schooners. Now in our Rhode Island video coming next, we'll be sailing the Adirondack 2 out of Newport. Continuing down the harbor is the Institute of Contemporary Art Museum, not a part of City Pass. It is $20 for general admission. You access it on the Silver Line from the Courthouse Station. Now, if you like to live on the harbor, try the Pier 4 luxury condos. A 13-foot square foot 2-bedroom, 2-bath starts at $2.2 million. The Leader Bank Pavilion here, a 5,000-seat outdoor amphitheater, hosts concerts from May to October. We sail right under the final approach for Logan Airport. You get a nice view of the plane's landing. And just across from the airport is the Castle Island Recreation Area. On it, Fort Independence, which played a key role in both the Revolutionary and the Civil Wars. On the other side of the fort is where the Harbor Walk extends down to Dorchester. This is where a lot of Boston's beaches are at, like Carson Beach. And next to the fort is Marine Park at Pleasure Bay, great for bird watching. There's not really a subway stop near here, but this is one of the few places in Boston that does have ample parking, with a free lot at the fort and metered parking along the street. There's the Head Island Pedestrian Causeway, where you can walk all the way out into Pleasure Bay and onto Fort Independence. This cruise also goes to Charlestown and around the USS Constitution, which we'll walk to on the Freedom Trail later. There is also the 80-minute Boston Duck Boat Tours, which you have the option to board at either the Aquarium, the Prudential Center, or the Museum of Science. It is $53 for adults, $38 for children 3 to 11. And the Boston Sightseeing Double-Decker Bus has an 80-minute tour for $39, or for $49 you can hop on or hop off at over 8 stops. The Old Town Trolley, also a hop-on, hop-off tour with 18 stops, is $50. And they also have the Ghost and Gravestone Tour, led by a 17th century gravedigger who recounts Boston's sinister characters as it goes through multiple burying grounds and a haunted hotel. Also, through City Experiences, you can take a 50-minute scenic ferry ride to Salem for $33. Salem was first settled in the early 1600s.
God save King William!
Was a significant seaport in early American history, and it's known for its infamous witch trials of 1692.
Pray for the souls of those afflicted by the devil's hand.
Bridget Bishop, the wife of Edward Bishop of Salem, has been cried out upon by those poor tormented girls.
At the town hall, you can actually take part in a jury of the trials at Cry Innocent.
You good people know I am not a witch.
It is $20 for adults. Children 10 and under are free. $16 for students up to 12th grade. During July, August, and October, it's $4 more.
I'm guilty of witchcraft.
In in with you, good wife?
There's the Essex Street Pedestrian Mall, pretty vibrant during the summer and gets extra lively the month of October. In June is the Salem Art Festival. You'll find street performers here, like my friend Nick Sharp.
Harry Potter's got nothing on me.
No, wait!
Like Boston's Freedom Trail, Salem has the Heritage Trail, about 3 miles long. It shows 400 years of history, from indigenous people to colonial Salem, abolitionism to contemporary Salem. While the witch trials is a big part of Salem, it is really so much more, with festivities, tours, and good restaurants, like the Village Tavern Bar and Grill, with patio seating on the mall.
At the end of the day, Salem is all about entertainment.
From the aquarium, we head south towards the Tea Party Ship, which is 3/4 of a mile down the Harbor Walk. We pass by the Boston Harbor Hotel, located on Rose Wharf. Across the street, the Trillium Garden on the Rose Kennedy Greenway, a seasonal beer garden featuring craft ales, wine, and a food truck. And a little further down, the James Hook and Company, a waterfront seafood eatery for takeout. The Tea Party Ship is next to Atlantic Wharf. You can access it on the Red Line. It's 1/4 of a mile from the South Station. This is a guided tour with actors.
Live in Boston Harbor! Here's Samuel Adams! Huzzah!
You start off in a meeting room.
Final chance to affect the outcome of these events in our favor.
Willing participants are given a card of a patriot with words to read.
I was forced to choose between new windows or putting food in my family's bellies.
I share my concerns.
They also tax our playing dice, our cards, and our dogs.
I wanted to tell Sam, you should see how taxes are in the 21st century.
About 500 yards away in this very body of water, 3 British warships lie at anchor. No.
Then it's time to throw tea in the harbor. You get a tour of the ship and also shown a pretty good short film. This is not part of City Pass. It is $35 for adults, $26 for children. And there's Abigail's Tea Room, which you do not need a ticket for. Fenway Park, perhaps the most beloved ballpark in baseball. Parking around Fenway is very limited and very expensive. I mean, you're talking $60 to $120. This garage at 100 Clarendon Street is about 1.5 miles from Fenway, is $40, and next to the Back Bay Station. So I'd recommend parking further out from the city, like the Boylston Station we showed earlier. To get to Fenway on the T, you take the Green Line to the Kenmore Station. It does get more crowded as you approach Fenway. From the Kenmore Station, it's an easy 3/10 of a mile walk. The old Sit-Go sign overlooks Kenmore Square, installed in 1940, a landmark of Boston. You'll see locks on the bridge crossing I-90. They symbolize couples' commitments to each other. Some eateries around the ballpark are Cask and Flagon, a TV-packed sports bar with patio seating overlooking Fenway. The Lansdowne, an Irish pub, and Loretta's Last Call with Southern dishes. On Jersey Street, you'll find pregame entertainment, the Hot Tamales Brass Band. The tallest Red Sox fan is Big League Brian. We'll take selfies with the fans. And of course, you have to have a lobster roll from Luke's Lobsters.
So what's it like living in Boston?
The traffic's great, the people are amazing, it's the best city ever.
On this day, they were honoring longtime announcer Joe Castiglione, who was retiring after 42 seasons. As a result, was able to see several famous Red Sox players. This stadium is the oldest in Major League Baseball. It was built in 1912, famous for its 37-foot wall in left field known as the Green Monster. Also known for its grandstand, a throwback to the older ballparks. So when you are booking tickets, they'll show you a picture and you want to try to pick a seat where the support pole doesn't block the view of the home plate. You can take a guided tour of Fenway Park year-round for $25. If you do it on game day, last tour departs 3 hours before game time. On this day, the last game of the season, they were playing my home team, the Rays. Both teams with identical records having disappointing seasons. But despite that, you would never know it by the passion of the fans. Their traditional singing of Neil Diamond's Sweet Caroline. Just a block from Fenway is Boylston Street, one of the most well-known streets of Boston. It travels from Fenway to the Boston Common by the Prudential Center we showed earlier, the Lenox Hotel at Copley Square, the Old South Church, which dates back to 1669, although this Gothic Revival building was built in 1875. Across the street, the Copley subway station on the Green Line, next to the Boston Public Library. This is where the finish line of the Boston Marathon is at, the site of the bombing in 2013. On the next block is Trinity Church at Copley Square. Boylston Street ends at the Boston Common in the center of Boston. There are 3 subway stops for the Boston Common. On the Green Line is Arlington Station on Boylston Street, and there's Boylston Station at Tremont Street. On the Red Line is Park Street Station, the closest to the Visitor Center. This is America's oldest park, founded in 1634. So many important events have happened here in its almost 400-year history. From George Washington to the Pope to Martin Luther King, this Embrace statue honors MLK and Coretta Scott King. There's a hilly circular running route that is 2 miles long to show you how massive this 50-acre park is. You'll find live musicians in warmer season. Several beautiful walking paths along the water within the park. There's an off-leash dog area. Boston Common is bordered by 5 streets. One of them is Beacon Street, which leads up to Beacon Hill, a historic neighborhood with cobblestones and gas lamps. Also on the street is the Cheers Bar, the inspiration for the popular TV series that ran from 1982 to 93. You can get pub grub here. The other side of Boston Common is bordered by Tremont Street in Chinatown. There's a stop on the Orange Line at Chinatown Station. Here you can grab some good Asian food. You'll see lots of flags of Taiwan and not China. Boston is a sister city of Taipei, Taiwan. In fact, the Taiwanese government gifted this Chinatown gate to Boston as a symbol of friendship between the two cities. On Tremont Street is a visitor center with info and restrooms. This is where the Freedom Trail begins. The Freedom Trail is 2.5 miles long, connects 16 significant historical attractions. You follow this brick-lined path on sidewalks, brick and cobblestone streets, from the Boston Common Visitor Center, by the Massachusetts State House, along downtown to Faneuil Hall, and then through the North End and over the Charles River to Charlestown, ending at the Bunker Hill Monument. There are a couple of guided tours you can take that are 1 mile long. First, the Walk into History tour from the Boston Common. Some of the places it covers is the Massachusetts State House, Park Street Church, the Granary Burying Grounds, where John Hancock and Samuel Adams are buried, the Old South Meeting House, and the Old South State House, which is where the Boston Massacre happened, and it ends at Faneuil Hall Marketplace. Or you can do this tour in reverse.
Sam Adams and John Hancock and Paul Revere would meet under cover of darkness to plot out the movements of the Sons of Liberty.
And there's the North End tour, which begins at Faneuil Hall Marketplace, goes to the Paul Revere House, and travels through the Paul Revere Mall, where his statue is, and leads to the Old North Church, Copp's Hill Burying Ground, and other historical places in Boston's oldest neighborhood. Both tours are $17 for adults and $8 for children 6 to 12. And of course, you can walk to all these places at your own pace. Across from Faneuil Hall is the Distraction Democracy Beer Garden at the Old City Hall. There's the Sam Adams Tap Room with an elevated terrace overlooking Faneuil Hall. To get to Faneuil Hall by subway, there's about 3 stops super close. The Government Center Station on the Green and Blue lines, next to Old City Hall. Also the State Street Station on the Orange and Blue line, and the Haymarket Station on the Orange and Green lines. In front of Quincy Hall, you'll find world-renowned street performers from June through October, like Snap Boogie. There's Alakazam, we saw in our St. Petersburg video. And Jason Escape.
2, here we go!
Inside of Quincy Hall is a food market, over 50 eateries with a variety of food, bakeries, and desserts. Everything you could want. Because of its easy access with the subway, and because food here is a little cheaper than eating at restaurants, I would regularly come here for a quick meal or coffee. Oh, and very important, in the center of Quincy Hall is where the restrooms are at. There's not a whole lot of public restrooms in downtown Boston, so note where the restrooms are at. I'm picking up some lobster and chowder at Boston Chowder here. Now, if you want to do a sit-down restaurant, there's the Union Oyster House, the oldest restaurant in Boston, and oldest with continuous service in the whole U.S. Also here, the Union Street Park, where the New England Holocaust Memorial is at. At nighttime, these towers are illuminated. There's a nice courtyard next to Quincy Hall under beautiful trees, where me and Bailey are going to enjoy lobster and chowder.
What do you think of Boston Chowder?
It was here I ran into subscribers Todd and Dorinda visiting from KC.
I just had watched your video before we came in, and it's like that movie Inception. The buildings are like moving in on you, and you're zigzagging around everywhere, and you don't have any signs on when you're going to turn, but I like it.
Yeah.
It's a great vibe. The water right there is my favorite.
Your closest subway stop to the north end is the Haymarket station, located on the orange and green lines. Then it's an easy walk across Cross Street. The North End has some really good food known for its Italian restaurants, like the Ciao Roma restaurant, an old-fashioned eatery with pasta and classic Roman cuisine. It's about $50 to $100 per plate. There's Carmelina's, about $30 to $50 a plate. And Giacomo's, $20 to $30 with elevated seating. There's Theo's Cozy Corner, $10 to $20, open for breakfast as well, with American, Italian, and Brazilian dishes. And you also have to get a cannoli here. There's two very popular bakeries, Mike's Pastries and Modern Pastries across the street. In the summer and fall, you'll find these places very crowded though. So I recommend Bova's Bakery. Every bit as good, and you won't have to wait as long. And they are delicious. And for high-end coffee and espresso, try the Thinking Cup. Also has house-made pastries and sandwiches. From the north end to finish the Freedom Trail, you walk over this pedestrian bridge, next to the Zakin Bunker Hill Bridge, to Charlestown. This is where the USS Constitution ship is at, the oldest naval warship afloat. By subway, the two closest stops, Community Station on the Orange Line and North Station on the Green Line, are both over a mile away. So I recommend taking the MBTA ferry, just a 10-minute ride from the Long Wharf, to the Charlestown Navy Yard. The ship is free, but to visit the museum, they ask for a $10 to $15 donation. The ship fires its cannons at 8 a.m. and sunset. And a half mile from the USS Constitution is the Bunker Hill Monument on Breed's Hill. To climb this monument, you enter the Bunker Hill Lodge. There is no charge for this or for the adjacent museum. On the other side of the Bunker Hill Bridge is TD Garden, home of the recent world champion Boston Celtics. Here is the North Station, a transportation hub, with commuter rail, intercity rail, bus, and the subway green and orange lines. This is another good place to get something quick to eat, with the Hub Hall Food Court. Has 18 different food and drink vendors. Underneath the Bunker Hill Bridge is Paul Revere Park. Bike and pedestrian trails head underneath I-93 as we enter Cambridge and right onto the north bank of the Charles River. All this was created by the Big Dig project. In 2015, this Lynch family skate park was added. We ride through North Point Park. There's a playground here. And come to the beautiful Charles River Dam Bridge, built in 1786. On this bridge is the Museum of Science. You can access it on the Green Line, stopping at the Science Park West End Station. This museum is part of the Boston City Pass. If you book it individually, it's $31 for adults, $26 for children 3 to 11. There are 4D films and planetarium shows at an additional cost. Lots of interactive exhibits, including one where you can fly a virtual drone in the Arctic. There are some live animal and reptile exhibits and dioramas of New England habitats. And you can go inside an Apollo space capsule. Only service dogs are allowed here, by the way. And there's the Theater of Electricity with demonstrations of a Tesla lab. We now head back to the Weston neighborhood of Boston, on the south side of the Charles River, to the Longfellow Bridge. While the Freedom Trail is Boston's most popular walking path, I think the most beautiful trail has to be the Charles River Esplanade. There's no parking, so to access it, you'll want to use the subway. Take the Red Line to the Charles MGH station. From there, it's a scenic quarter-of-a-mile walk over Storrow Drive on the Francis Appleton Bridge. The Charles River Esplanade begins at the boathouse. It is here with community boating. You can rent kayaks, paddleboards, $34 for 2 hours, and they are pet-friendly. There are multiple large boat dock platforms if you'd like to just chill right on the water. The Hatch Memorial Shell here, best known for hosting the Boston Pops annually on the 4th of July, but it's also used for free concerts, most weekends and selected weeknights during the summer months. Further down is Night Shift Esplanade, an outdoor beer garden featuring rotating food trucks, open from the spring through October. Running along the roadway is the Paul Dudley White Bike Path, which is a 17-mile loop trail that runs on both sides of the river, and you have the option to shorten it, cutting across the many bridges. The Charles River Esplanade technically goes on for 3 miles, ending near this outdoor gym, but it leads to the Paul Dudley White Bike Path. So really, you could go biking to your heart's content. We are taking it to Harvard University. Now, to get to Harvard by subway, you just take the Red Line to the Harvard station. Harvard is the oldest institution of higher learning in the U.S. Founded in 1636 by a Puritan clergyman, John Harvard. It is a private Ivy League research university, considered one of the hardest universities to get into. Out of every 100 applicants, only 4 are admitted. Next to the university is Harvard Square, a triangular plaza lined with coffee houses, cinemas, and a variety of eateries with outdoor seating. Like Felipe's Taqueria. In the summer, you find street performers here. There's Clover Food Lab to get some quality sandwiches and bowls with wholesome ingredients.
So it's an egg and eggplant sandwich with a hibiscus iced tea.
Sounds weird, but it tasted pretty good. While the battles of the Revolutionary War are over, there are still patriots fighting 30 minutes south of Boston. At Gilette Stadium. Of course, being from Tampa, I had to thank Patriot Nation for giving us Brady and Gronk a few years back. The Patriots have been struggling a little in the post-Brady Belichick era, but fans still having a good time.
Hey!
Next to the stadium is Patriot Place, a small strip mall with shopping, dining, and entertainment, kind of similar to the Battery next to Truist Park we saw in the Atlanta video. Even a little fire pit here to keep warm. There's the Scorpion Bar, a Mexican restaurant. Tavolina, a contemporary pizzeria. Davio's, a northern Italian restaurant. Bar Louie Bar and Grill. And high-energy entertainment at Splitsville with bowling, top golf suites, dueling piano bar, and more. "10 miles south of Boston in Quincy is Peacefield, the John Adams house. There's guided tours of both his house at Peacefield and the Adams farm at Penn's Hill, the birthplace of both John Adams and John Quincy Adams. Tours are $15 per person, and it includes a trolley ride. Adams often gets overlooked in history because of the president before him, Washington, and the one after him, Jefferson. But Adams played such a key role. One thing I would recommend before you visit Boston is the HBO miniseries, John Adams. It covers the history of the Revolutionary War and is very well done. That way you really have a perspective of these historical sites you visit in Boston. I must say, I had my preconceived notions about Boston, but the city was much better than I expected, despite the traffic. It's a gorgeous city and played such a vital role in the early history of our country.
Well said!
I hope this video will be a good aid for you, especially in navigating around Boston, so that you can use your time in the city to have fun and enjoy and not be stuck in traffic. If traveling with a dog, these Kurgo dog backpacks are the best. It saves your dog from excessive walking and allows you to bring a dog where you otherwise might not be able to. We are Tampa Aerial Media. We film travel videos across the USA. For stock footage, or if you'd like to hire us to film your city, region, or vacation rental, contact us at info@tampaaerialmedia.com. Well, next, we head just a little south of Boston to Rhode Island, the Ocean State. And we still have New Hampshire and the Blue Ridge Parkway to show you. And in the next few months, we'll be doing updated videos of the west coast of Florida after the hurricanes.
There is a ship that's docked in Salem Harbor. It carries aboard it fine fabrics, oils, and spices for purchase.
From Boston, I wish blessings to you wherever you may be.
Hear, hear!
Like this.